We're going to introduce the next act. She goes by the name of Derrion, a spoken word artist that brings raw honesty and emotion to every piece, writing from a place of faith and real life experience, exploring everything from pain and doubt to hope and healing. Her work is all about authentic, sharing truths and sparking something real in every listener. This piece in particular pays homage to grandmothers and the Windrush generation. People, please, big noise, energies for Derrion!
If the streets paved with gold could talk, we would sit in silence because that reality failed to exist. Then the souls who buoyantly stepped into this falsehood would resist and miss twisted and consistent disappointment, fought with attempts to coexist in a land that would rather see us blacklisted and dissed. If the walls of the housing that showcased no blacks, no dogs, no Irish could see, they'd be amazed at how make your own was not a luxury but a lifestyle created off of a forced independency. Given that rejection became expected with no alternative but to work harder, they'd see innovation meet intelligence when they made their own banks through Partner, made systems as part of a start to chart a business so we could depart farther from the things that were set to oppress, that were so wrongly started. Come see excellence. Come see exceptional benevolence. Come see the evidence of good community when the unity can be generous. Come see family. Come see the era of black loyalty when being of help and support was so joyously done and celebrated for all to see. If the black country factories could hear, they'd pick up watered down patwa and blood, sweat and tears sown into days of labour for years upon years, stemmed from hard work with their hands while being scorned by their peers. If the mirrors off of the homes that brought worship to the front rooms could play back reflection, we would see mention of how our own secluded safe spaces would allow tensions to release and the pure intentions of peace could fill a room doing kitchen convention. If my grandmother wrote a book, we'd be able to see and look at resilience mistook for relent because she still stood tall even after her entire being was so uncommonly shook. We would read of the telegraph that came that said, where your children lay, back home in St. James, that the walls where they stayed had burned down into flames. Told there were no remains and still unsolved to this day. Disappointment now met grief, where 3 out of 6 of your offspring and a niece now deceased while she exerted her ways in a work so low paid and now a heart incomplete. If the hearts of the second generation could be televised, we would probably see a pride that was old and deeply prized, possibly exercised with poor compromise they have now learned to never authorize. Here they came with high hopes and passports so civilized, and they continue as great stature personified. Thank you. If you were to ask me about my heroes, I would tell you of the generation that made me. I would speak of the women who stitched hustle into the hem of struggle, who held strength in the ottoman of dreams they carried to shore. The hopeful hearts that walked the cobbled towns of old, really paved with souled dreams from a land that called from overseas a plea to piece back their country. Or bold natives screamed for them to leave their precious broken streets, letting it be known their presence was unwanted, and still they rise. Their dark skin, an offensive weapon, they become guilty of possessing, a threat to every room they step in, and when they do, innocent eyes widen as handbags clutch and tighten, fear brightens, defenses heighten just as they do. When they rise, eyes gaze the coils of the crown they wear so boldly. Those who do not read the language of roots in 4C reduce them to punchlines of undesirability. So for acceptance, dress sharper, work harder, know their worth but never part from, nor do they compromise the soil from which they grew. Instead, they rise. And I salute the bravery to come from mango trees to English breeze, raised in close proximity to the echoes of slavery. The same memories they tell us to let go of from those days. But every time I sign a page, I am reminded of how my identity was erased. And so my true last name, I will probably never know. So from them, I was born Thompson. And like many on the island, Mommy was Grant, married into Wilson with so much story in my hands of how my heroes taught me what it is to rise. I've seen hearts shatter to shards. They still have missing pieces they did not get to gather in the dust of grief when they buried the children they outlived. I always knew about faith, but I never knew there was a love like this before. Love so pure, it pours when it's committed, soars without condition, roars with no permission, even when it's missing reciprocity. They rise. They dedicate their livelihoods to religious houses. Those who once made them, watch them break. You could say push, I would say push them out of pulpits to dull pits, and still they rise. From the Bishop Boys Club's backbenching, trying hearts, they throw stones from glass houses they sit in, pick and tear characters like saltfish bones, and still they rise. And it's a joy that I remain faithful. Because while I resist, they forgive. They continue to live, and with unclenched fists, I've seen them embrace their enemies, center peace in the faces of entities that once threw them under. And when the end comes near, and the final respects paid, the bloodline shovels dust which they came from into the grave, singing sweet melodies of going home on the morning train. Up yonder, to sit down and rest a little while. Still, they rise. Because legends never die, they leave legacies. Some they may never see. If you were to ask me about my heroes, I would tell you of the women that raised me. Thank you. Thank you.
Please, people, make some more noise for Derrion. Yeah, powerful, powerful. So, just a quick question. I know you don't know, but the inspiration, as I said, was for grandmothers and Windrush, and there was two lines in particular. That there was a line that you said about your own banks with partners, and I remember because I used to be in a partner even though I was a youth. So for those, I think, and there was another line that you mentioned that you said when they buried the children before them. What inspired you to do this and speak and do these pieces?
I've always had a deep admiration for that generation of women in particular. I only know a snippet of my grandma's story, my grandmother's story, so I can only imagine what else they experienced and what else they went through and what else all the other women of that generation experienced as well. And the fact that I don't think they really ever get an opportunity to tell their story.
True.
And so I feel it's maybe a kind of a way for me to tell that story and make sure that it's always alive, because they went through it, and I think it should always be a part of where we're at, where we've come from.
Yeah, I agree with that. Make some noise for Derrion. Hard. Well answered. Now, before you go, where can people find you? So what's your socials, etc.?
Okay. Yeah, Instagram, I am Poetic Derrion on Instagram. That is my main social that I'd use. Poetically D on YouTube, and TikTok is same, Poetic Derrion. Yeah.
Once again, people, please make some noise for Derrion!